Welcome back to the Team Radio podcast. My name, as always, is Joseph Black, and alongside me today is somebody who's got interest in some lower single-seater racing, so we're going to touch on plenty of it. But welcome in to Maciej Jackiewicz. Well, welcome in, Maciej. Just talk to me and the viewers a little bit. I can't speak. Tell me and the viewers a little bit about yourself.
My name is Maciej. I am 16 years old, and I'm the F4 Central Europe editor for FIDE series, as well as a staff researcher, which means I basically just have to verify news about every single championship there is in the junior single-seater racing world.
So know a lot about the junior single-seater racing world then. One of the most insightful people I think I know. And of course, there's plenty that we'll touch on. But first, just F4 Central Europe. Of course, it's not been the most historically big series, but it's had a real good start to this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, this year it has seen more than 40 cars every weekend. They doubled really from last year. And it has shown that the races are very, very interesting with this number of cars. Yes, there is not so many, I would say, very good drivers as in Italy or in Spain, but it's still a very, very good series level-wise. The racing is very clean, and also the circuits, I think, are very interesting because the series doesn't feature the huge tracks like the F1 tracks apart from Red Bull Ring and Hungaroring, but it features the more regional, smaller circuits like Salzburg Ring or Most, which will be the next round. And I think these circuits are very fun for F4 cars, and racing there is very, very cool, even cooler than on the mainstream F1 tracks we see normally in F4 series.
Yeah, it's not exactly on the beaten path really, where, as you say, a lot of the series will head to your Monzas and your Silverstones and things like that. But it does it does show a light on a lot of European racing that may not be as well known, including there's plenty of Czech racing out there, and there's one particular Czech driver that I've got my eye on for many reasons. One reason being that, to my knowledge, she isn't that Czech. Ella Hakkinen this year has been, of course, she's making her bow in the series. How far can you see her going in terms of her development? As she's not had a bad start.
Yeah, she looked very good from the first test, really, and her pace has been good in the series. She has a very good team with her, Jense Motorsport, which have dominated the series really since the beginning. And she showed she can use this team to her advantage, and she really had some good races this season. And I think she can go far in her career. Now, this is her first season. Obviously, there's the chance of continuing on the normal F4 level. There's also the chance of going to F1 Academy. She's with the McLaren Academy, so that's also a big possibility. But for now, I think yeah, she has a chance to go far. She looks very fast in the rounds so far. She maybe the standings or like the certain race results don't show it, but she had pace sometimes for podiums, sometimes for top fives. Her qualifying looked good during, if I remember, the third round. So yeah, I think Ella Hakkinen has a bright future ahead of her.
It's definitely one to look out for, and there has been a few women racing in the series, one being Alexia Danielson. Now, it kind of seems like there's been a merging of two different series out there this season in F4 Central Europe, because, of course, Step Motorsport have come over from the Nordic 4 kind of range of racing. Is that something that you can see being a massive benefit and a sign of things to come in terms of these smaller European series working together?
Yeah, I think so. Like this year in F4 Central Europe, we see a lot of these smaller teams which have competed in regional series across Europe, in regional smaller series across Europe, which are not F4 certified, like Harp Racing, which came from the FX Pro Series in Italy, Step Motorsport from the Nordic 4, or the Sladecka Motorsport team, which is the team that Miroslav Kepak races with. They raced in the small Carbonia Cup Championship in the Czech Republic. So these smaller teams have come into the F4 Central Europe Championship to kind of, expand expand their teams. I don't know how to say this, but and I think that it will happen, and I think that we will see more teams from other series and also just other series kind of cooperating, because I think that's what F4 Central Europe was from the beginning, because it was, I think, from the beginning kind of a second series for the more big teams like Yenza, like Mafi, who had their teams in Italy, and they kind of used Central Europe as a place to develop their drivers. And I think this will continue with other teams. We have Drivex this year, which are obviously a very known team from Spain. They also joined F4 Central Europe this year for I think for the same reason, to develop the drivers before they go to the main series for the championship for the team.
One particular driver who I know you're going to have an eye on, because I mean, you can see behind you the Polish flag, and of course, a proud supporter of all things Polish. They've got Piotr Ocholski in there, and I mean, of course, he's only done one round so far. He's picked up a 5th place, but hasn't seemed to had the luck go his way. Is he one of those you're looking out for in terms of future Polish drivers?
For sure, he impressed me a lot during the first round. He qualified, I think, in the 17th, 18th position, and he made his way up to 5th in the first race, which was very, very surprising. He had a big crash in the second race. That's why he didn't finish the weekend, but yeah, he looks very, very quick. And also, I think what is interesting about him is that he doesn't come from the normal karting path to F4. He was a rally driver and also a sim racer, if I remember correctly. So this kind of unusual path led him to F4, but now he looks very, very quick there. He missed the first 2 rounds, as you said, because he was too young, but now he made his debut at Slovakia, and he looked very, very quick.
Who are you looking out for in terms of the highlights of the future of Polish racing?
We have a lot of drivers now, and it's very weird, because I think this year and last year are the years that we saw a very, very big growth in the amount of Polish drivers in the junior single seaters. And this year, I think we can say that in every European F4 there is a Polish driver, I think, or like in the most important ones. In the F4, I look forward to see how Boris Wyrzyn can do in Spanish F4. He had an amazing weekend. I remember, I think, with 2 wins, and is very near the top of the standings there. And he's kind of the next guy from Poland that is very, very high up in Spanish F4, because we had Tymek in 2022, then we had Maciej Jackiewicz, we had Jan Przyrowski. They're always fighting for wins in Spain, and now we have Boris, who is also continuing on this path. So I think, yeah, he's the one to look for. And also Maciej Jackiewicz now in Formula 3. He has won the feature race at Silverstone, the second Polish win in history of Formula 3, which I think shows that he's very, very good. He showed that he's good at adapting to new cars, because he showed that in Eurocup 3 Spanish Winter Championship, where he won it. He showed it in F4 that he's very good at adapting to new cars, and I think that will suit him in the future when he hopefully goes to Formula 2.
You mentioned Tymek Jackiewicz earlier on. Of course, he's had his whole progression over the last year, but he's done an unorthodox thing, and he's gone to America. How can you see that move working out for him?
Yes, obviously his original plan was to go to Formula 2, or I think to Formula 2, but budget didn't allow him, so he went to America, to Indy Next, and this move really works for him. He has led standing at some point. I think now he's second. He won a race at Indianapolis, so I think this move really worked for him. He's aiming for the IndyCar seat next year. I don't think that will happen, because I think that IndyCar's grid is kind of set now, but he looks really well. He can win the title, and I think Indy Next is where he can show his space to a bigger audience, because yes, he won the title in Euro Formula Open. He was quick in GB3, but these championships don't have this kind of media coverage that Indy Next has. And now a lot of people talk about him because of his result in Indy Next. He also, I think, made a very good job with kind of building his media persona in America with the interviews, with the media appearance, with the very famous Butter interview where he admitted he hates it and he's scared of it. So yeah, I think this move was a very good one, and I think that there might be some other Polish drivers that will follow. We have a leader now in USF Juniors. Karol Pasiewicz is the championship leader on this first step on the Indy road to Indy ladder. So yeah, and I think that this America destination will become more and more popular around the Polish drivers.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has looked like a success so far, and he has certainly looked like he's going to be challenging up there at the top. And maybe, as you say, some drivers will join him. One driver, and you did touch on him earlier on. I just circle back to Boris Wyzhin because he's had kind of a weird career so far, where he made the step over to AU4 for one random round earlier this year, and I think he might be the most mentioned driver on this podcast so far because I think this is the third time that he's been mentioned. I mean, where can you see his ceiling?
I think that he can go pretty far. I think he can kind of follow in Maciej Jackiewicz's footsteps because they're both Polish. They both race at MP this year, and I can see Wojciech next year in Eurocup 3 with the team because he showed very good pace in the winter. He showed very good pace in this Australia round he did, which was also very surprising for me when I saw a notification on my phone that he's on the entry list for AU4. I was very surprised, but he did well there, I think. I didn't watch the races. I think he had some kind of accident, but he got a podium there, I think. So he showed some good pace there, and yeah, in Europe, in Spain, he's looking very, very quick. I think he can go very far. He has Orlen backing, which is very important for Polish drivers. So he has sponsors behind him that can also help because a lot of Polish drivers have issues with budget. That's the main reason for some drivers not being able to advance further in their careers. So yeah, I think he can do well. He can go to F3 one day, maybe F2. Who knows? I think he's a big talent.
They're of course aiming to get to Formula One, which would be considered the pinnacle of the single-seater sport. But there's somebody who has already made it to the pinnacle of the single-seater sport, and he's also made it to the pinnacle of a couple of sports. Robert Kubica. Just what does his legacy mean to Poland? Obviously, he's a 24-hour Le Mans winner. He's a decently decorated driver in Formula One, one of the biggest what could have beens, and then of course he's raced in the World Rally Championship as well. What does he mean to Poland?
He's a hero of Polish sport, I think, and for every driver that wants to do something in motorsport from Poland, he's kind of a hero and an inspiration. Every time a Polish driver does good in any single seaters, he's called the next Kubica by all the media, which I think they hate. And I think Timek admitted that he doesn't want to be called the next Kubica, but the first Timek, which makes sense. But yeah, he is basically, if you say Formula One to someone in Poland or motorsport to anyone in Poland, they will picture Kubica as the first thing because he was our first and only F1 driver. He won Le Mans, which made headlines everywhere, and kind of for most people it was the first contact with Le Mans as a race because it was in every television, in every newspaper it was mentioned. So yeah, he's a very important person. He's I think thanks to him there is money also for the youngsters because he's kind of the face of motorsport. And yeah, he's very, very important. And obviously, he has to be important because he was our only F1 driver. He won a race that was also a Polish national holiday, basically. Although it happened before I was born, so I can't really say. And yeah, he's very, very important for the Polish racing world.
Of course, he's won the 24-hour Le Mans. He's not the only Polish driver to win the 24-hour Le Mans. The last couple of years, into Europol have really kind of taken the LMP2 class by they've taken it multiple times in terms of winning the race. Just, I mean, how good does it feel having a team from the nation? Of course, you've got Jakub Śmiechowski, who races for them, as well as is the team principal. Just how good does that feel? Because I know you covered it as well in Polish. How good does it feel being able to get a little bit of national pride?
Yes, it was very very beautiful to see it for the first time. I remember seeing it live with my parents. Even though they hate racing, they kind of I forced them to watch it with me when Inter Europa won it for the first time. And I think it's a very 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 fun story. Inter Europa is originally a bakery, and they kind of made a racing team, and now they're winning Le Mans. I think for the third year in a row, which is absolutely crazy. Uh, and it's also very, very good to see the Śmiechowski, but also other drivers that can kind of make their way into motorsport through endurance, because Inter Europa has a team in Le Mans Cup, in LMP3, so they have like their cars on the most of the steps to Le Mans, to the biggest endurance racing. So we can kind of see success in every level of the competition in endurance from Poland, which is very nice to see. And also we have some drivers coming up in LMP3, and and yeah, we can have some nice future up in endurance as well as in the single seater world.
Definitely so. Heading back to F4 Central Europe, just who can you see being the biggest person to come out of this year's grid?
There are a lot of drivers here which I think can make it far. One of them is Elia Weiss, who has made headlines with his Formula E testing with Porsche as the youngest person ever to test a Formula E car in an official testing session. Uh, he's looking good this season with Jense. It was a kind of a surprise that he does F4 Central Europe this year, as he was racing the UAE with Race GP. I think everyone thought he's going to do Italian F4, but he's now in F4 Central Europe instead, and he's doing well. But I think the biggest talent, in my opinion, that can actually do really, really well is Simon Rechenmacher from Kram Motorsport, because he's the highest placed driver that is not racing with Jense or Mafi, so the two teams that have been dominating the series since the beginning, really. And he showed some good moves. He made some mistakes as well, like completely destroying Matilda Paz race in Slovakia ring, but he showed good raw pace, and he showed that he can battle with the Jensas or with the Mafis during normal racing. And I think he can still win the championship. The gap is quite big, but there have been some. It's always something can happen here. So yeah, I think the two Germans I mentioned, Weiss and Rechenmacher, are in my opinion, the biggest names here. But there are others, obviously. There is David Walther, who is experienced in F4, but he's doing really really well this season as well with Mafia, and he showed also great pace in Italian F4. He got a podium there, and yeah, I think there are other interesting names there that can go far in motorsports.
And there's one that I want to have a look at, because it's somebody that I haven't really been able to make my mind up on yet, because she seems to be a little bit uh, I don't really know, to be honest with you. Matilda Pats, who of course does very well in F4 Central Europe when she races there, but doesn't seem to be hitting it off in any other series until this year, which is I mean, obviously she's taken a race win in F1 Academy. Just have you seen that progression? Have you seen that she is actually a much improved driver this season, and why do you think that would be?
I think that's just the experience in the four car that helps her this year. Obviously, she made her debut in 2024, which was basically the first year for her in cars in the French F4. Then she made a move to F4 Central Europe last year. She was constantly around the top 10. She scored the podium, so she already showed that she's quick. And this year, I think she progressed on that, and she's constantly near the top. I remember her qualifying, I think, on the first row, even in Slovakia, or on the second row. She was very, very high up there. She was very unlucky that weekend because she got taken out twice. But overall, she looked very, very decent that weekend. And I think, this year has been. You can see progress in her this year. Obviously, she's with the Aston Martin Academy, so she has this support. and yeah, I think she progressed this year. I haven't really watched that much of F1 Academy this year, so I can't really say for that part. But in F4 Central Europe, she showed progress. She's doing well, and her team is also doing very well because Matilda Racing have showed great pace with Matilda, but also with Dean Pedersen. That was kind of surprising everyone during the second round and third round.
Yeah, taking a podium in that third round as well. In race 3 of 4 of the weekend. Now, just heading away from racing for a little bit in general, heading away from car racing in particular. Of course, you're a big fan of the Olympics, which I know, which the people watching are discovering now. But karting and Olympics is something that's raised every so often. Is it something you can see in the future of both?
I really wish I could see karting and the Olympics happen, and I think any kind of motorsport in the Olympics would be very cool. It was tested during the, I think, Youth Olympics once when a karting race was held, and yeah, I don't think that will happen in the near future because I think for the most hardlined Olympic people, motorsport is not a sport because you don't run, but you just sit in a car, which obviously we can argue that's not true, but it's very difficult to explain. And also, I think that Olympic sports are like quite strict. Like, the criteria for choosing an Olympic sport are quite strict. Like, for example, this year cyclocross was supposed to be added for the Winter Olympics, but it wasn't because it's not on snow, even though it's a very winter sport. So I think it would be quite difficult to add motorsport or karting to the Olympics, but it would be cool. I'd love to see it, but I don't think that's happening, unfortunately. Even though it would be very cool because I think it deserves a place. Motorsport deserves place on the Olympic scene, at least in some form. But for now, we have to stick with what we have. So the FIA Motorsport games that happen once in a while, and I think everyone forgets they happen once in a while, but they're there, and we have to watch them.
It's definitely a debate. I know it's a debate that's been going on a long time because I think the first time I remember reading about it, I was maybe 12, and now the ages later, it's still something that it might not be at the forefront of people's minds, but it's definitely in there somewhere. Thank you very much for joining me today. That's going to be it from myself and from Maciek. And until next time, it is goodbye.